Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unpack your sources to extract the most important insights, all to help you become truly well-informed.
Hey there.
Today, we're embarking on a journey inward, a deep dive into something incredibly personal, yet universally perplexing, your own inner world, and how it shapes your entire experience.
It's really true, isn't it? If you've ever had that moment where you thought, okay, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing here, and it feels like everyone else got some kind of secret instruction booklet at birth that, you somehow missed.
Definitely.
Well, congratulations. You're officially part of a very, very large club.
Right. Life doesn't come with that neatly printed, laminated manual.
No IKEA guide for assembling a fulfilling existence. No troubleshooting section for when your emotions start making that funny rattling noise.
I know that feeling. It's like we're all just winging it, hoping we don't accidentally set the metaphorical kitchen on fire. And sometimes it really feels like you're just a passenger in your own life, sort of gripping the dashboard and screaming at the driver who, plot twist, is also you.
Right. And you're just lurching from one urgent, blinking red light crisis to the next. It's exhausting.
It is.
Or maybe your inner world feels less like a well-organized filing system and more like just a chaotic jumble.
Yeah.
A swirling mass of unfinished thoughts, anxieties, impulses that sometimes just spill out into actions you later regret.
Oh, yeah. Leaving you thinking, why on earth did I do that?
Exactly, that feeling.
So it's like our internal operating system is constantly running in the background. And if it's got, I don't know, outdated software or even buggy code, that can really mess with how we process information and respond to life, can't it?
Precisely. That's a really great way to put it. Our minds, these magnificent and, let's be honest, maddeningly complex pieces of internal machinery, with their whirring gears of thoughts, bubbling cauldrons of emotions, those deeply etched grooves of beliefs, and lightning-fast, often unconscious patterns. They play this massive role in how we perceive, interpret, and respond to life's hurdles.
Right.
And this buggy code, it isn't necessarily something inherently wrong with us, It's more like these unhelpful patterns that have just developed over time.
Okay.
And they end up amplifying our suffering. It's like trying to run a marathon with a backpack full of rocks.
Yep.
You can technically do it, but gosh, it's going to be so much harder, so much more painful than it needs to be.
Can you give us an example of how this boogie code might play out in like a real life situation?
Sure. Think about this. Two people can face the exact same setback. Let's say a much anticipated project at work gets unceremoniously canceled. Just boom, gone.
Okay. Ouch.
Yeah. Now, person A, they might be operating with sort of an unexamined mind, and they just spiral. They could see it as this unmitigated disaster, a personal failure, maybe even a sign their career is doomed. And they promptly fall into this vortex of stress, self-recrimination, maybe even lashing out.
Right.
Their internal programming basically says, failure is catastrophic, avoid it at all costs.
Okay, I can definitely picture that. And person B facing the identical cancellation.
Same exact event. Person B might feel disappointed, sure. Maybe even a bit frustrated. Those are normal human emotions, completely valid.
Of course.
But because they have a different internal program running, maybe one they've worked on, they might also see it as an opportunity. Perhaps a chance to learn something valuable from the experience, to regroup and redirect their energy towards something even better, or maybe just a welcome breather before the next big thing.
Wow. Same external event, but just vastly different internal experiences.
Huge difference.
That really highlights how our internal landscape basically dictates our external experience.
It really does.
So this brings us right to the core promise of Cognizant Life art, doesn't it? That there's a hopeful turning point here.
Yes, absolutely. The central invitation of Cognizant Life art is that by understanding our inner workings more deeply and by intentionally cultivating more skillful, more aware ways of being, we can significantly reduce our own self-inflicted suffering.
Yep.
And we can navigate those external challenges with greater ease, wisdom, and resilience.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts.
No, not at all. It's a practical blueprint for rewiring your automatic responses, transforming those chaotic reactions into calm, conscious choices. And it draws on insights from psychology, mindfulness, ancient wisdom traditions. It's quite integrated.
Yeah.
It's really about moving from being, a puppet of our programming to becoming the mindful programmer of our own responses.
I love that phrase, mindful programmer. It sounds like a journey from just reacting to, genuine freedom.
It absolutely is. And this journey, it truly starts with acknowledging that life will always have its kicks in the shins, as the book puts it.
Right. It happens.
It will present difficulties and disappointments. It just will. But by understanding our own crucial role in how those kicks feel,
Oh, okay.
and by intentionally cultivating these inner capacities for clarity, integrity, connection, and growth, we can learn to stay on our feet more often, navigate the bumps with a bit more grace,
Yeah.
and maybe even learn a few cool dance moves in the process. Who knows?
And that leads us perfectly into today's mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack what the Cognizant Life framework calls your core inner toolkit for skillful living.
That's right, part 2 of the framework.
And these aren't just abstract ideas, they're framed as 5 fundamental inner superpowers, which sounds cool.
It does, but they're not magical talents.
Right.
Yeah.
Practical capacities, things you can actually understand, nurture, and strengthen with conscious effort, and importantly, consistent practice.
Consistent practice is key.
Think of them as transformative tools for how you navigate pretty much everything life throws your way.
That's right. So yeah, grab your metaphorical tool belt, everyone, and let's get started on building up that inner arsenal.
Okay, so if we're going to reprogram our minds, where do we even begin?
It all starts with the most fundamental inner capacity, awareness. It's like turning on the lights in a dark room you've just been fumbling around in. Suddenly you can see where things are.
The book describes awareness as the origin story for skillful living, doesn't it? The power that makes all the other abilities possible.
It really is foundational.
Without it, we bumble around on autopilot, reacting like a startled cat faced with a cucumber.
Huh. Yes, that analogy. It perfectly captures that unconscious reactive state we can fall into.
It really does.
So, awareness, in the context of our toolkit here, it's the cultivated ability to perceive, understand, and engage with the realities of our inner and outer worlds with clarity, presence, and intentionality.
Okay. Clarity, presence, intentionality.
Exactly. It's the primary lens through which all the other life skills are focused and made effective. It's the difference between being, a passenger on a runaway train of your own habits and reactions, and being the one who can actually see the tracks, understand the controls, and maybe even choose a different destination. It gives you choice.
So why does cultivating awareness matter so much for skillful living? What does it actually do for us?
Well, for one, it helps align your decisions with your core values.
Okay.
When you're clear on what truly matters to you, maybe it's honesty, kindness, creativity, security, adventure, whatever it is for you, you can use those values as a compass.
Right. To guide choices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which leads to more heck yeah moments and significantly fewer why on earth did I agree to that?
Yeah.
Regrets. We've all been there.
Oh, definitely.
It also helps you understand your impact on others, and adjust if you're accidentally being that person.
We don't want to be that person.
Yeah. Nobody does. But sometimes our words or actions have unintended consequences, right? Self-awareness helps you see how you're actually coming across, not just how you intend to come across.
That's a crucial difference.
Huge. And it helps you identify and challenge your own biases, too. Our brains are wired to take shortcuts. It's efficient, but it can lead to biased thinking. Self-awareness allows you to catch some of these biases in action, question them, and strive for a clearer, more objective view. It's not about eliminating bias entirely, that's probably impossible, but becoming aware of it.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that's awareness as a whole concept, but how do we actually cultivate it? The framework breaks it down into 3 crucial aspects, starting with, maybe the most vital, self-awareness.
Yes, self-awareness. It's really about understanding your internal landscape.
Okay.
This involves clearly perceiving your own thoughts, your emotions, your motivations, values, strengths, weaknesses, the whole inner picture.
Yeah.
It's about knowing your genuine self underneath the surface roles and reactions.
So how do we practice that?
Well, one powerful yet simple practice the book suggests is the what am I feeling, really, check-in.
Okay.
A few times throughout your day, maybe especially when you notice a shift in your mood or your energy level, just pause for a moment. Just stop.
Right.
And ask yourself, what emotion am I actually feeling right now? Try to name it with some specificity, not just bad, but maybe irritated, disappointed, anxious, a bit flat.
Getting specifics.
Yes. And then a follow-up question. Where do I feel this in my body? Is there a tightness in your chest? A knot in your stomach, a buzzing feeling.
Great.
And the key here is no need to change the feeling or judge it, just notice it. Observe with gentle curiosity.
Gentle curiosity, I like that.
This simple practice builds your emotional literacy, which is a cornerstone of self-awareness. And really importantly, it creates critical space around the emotion. It stops it from just taking over completely.
That space sounds crucial. And I think we all have triggers, don't we? Those
Good.
things that just set us off. How do we deal with those using awareness?
We absolutely do. Those little or sometimes, pretty big things that can set off a disproportionately strong emotional reaction.
Yeah.
The book suggests playing the what just triggered me detective game.
Okay, detective game.
Yeah. So when you find yourself suddenly feeling really angry or defensive or anxious, or maybe you just shut down completely, try to gently play detective after the initial emotional wave has crested a bit. Don't do it in the heat of the moment.
Right, afterwards.
Afterwards, ask yourself, okay, what just happened right before I started feeling this way? Was it something someone said, something I saw, a particular thought that popped into my head?
Pinpointing the cause.
Exactly. Identifying your triggers doesn't make them magically disappear, unfortunately.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it? But it does give you power. When you know what tends to set you off, you can anticipate those situations sometimes. You can prepare for them mentally, or you can consciously choose to respond differently when they happen. It gives you options.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, the book also connects self-awareness to understanding the 5 foundations of our human experience. Can you briefly touch on how that helps?
Right. Those are form, our body and senses, feeling, emotional responses, perception, how our mind interprets things, mental formations, our thoughts, habits, biases, and consciousness, the integrating awareness itself.
Okay.
Understanding these helps untangle our reactions. For example, you might recognize a strong feeling as an emotional response triggered not by reality, but by a perception, your mind's interpretation based on past experiences or mental formations.
So separating the feeling from the interpretation.
Exactly. Or noticing a physical sensation form and realizing it's linked to an anxious thought pattern, mental formation. This kind of discrimination brings so much clarity. It helps you see the different parts of the reaction instead of just being swamped by the whole thing.
That's really helpful for untangling things. Okay, moving on to the second facet of awareness, situational awareness. What does it mean to read the room effectively?
Situational awareness is precisely that, understanding your external environment. This includes other people, the dynamics of a conversation, the unspoken rules, the broader context of a situation. It's about sensing those subtle cues that often say more than words.
Why is that important?
Well, it helps you navigate social situations more skillfully. It helps you avoid unnecessary misunderstandings, conflicts, or just awkward moments, putting your foot in your mouth.
We've all done that too.
Haven't we just? A great simple practice for this is called scan the vibe.
Scan the vibe. Okay.
Before you jump into a group conversation or maybe walk into a meeting where a discussion is already going on, take just a brief moment, like 5 seconds. Pause at the threshold and consciously notice the overall energy and atmosphere. Is it tense, lighthearted, focused, chaotic? Is there an elephant in the room?
Right. Just get a feel for it.
Get a feel for it. Then adjust your entry, your tone, and maybe what you were initially planning to say accordingly. This helps you avoid inadvertently disrupting a delicate moment or missing important unspoken cues or just saying completely the wrong thing at the wrong time. It's brilliant for social intelligence.
Definitely sounds useful. And the third facet of awareness is mindful presence. You mentioned earlier how our minds are absolute champions at time travel.
Oh, yeah. They can whisk us away to a cringe-worthy memory from 10 years ago in a split second.
Yep.
Or catapult us into catastrophizing about something that might happen next week or next year.
And we miss what's happening right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We often miss out on life itself because of that mental time travel. We're not fully tasting our food or truly hearing what our loved ones are saying or even just noticing the feeling of the sun on our skin.
So what are the benefits of cultivating this mindful presence?
Oh, there are loads. It significantly reduces stress and anxiety by anchoring you in the present moment, which can be a calm refuge from future worries or past regrets. It leads to improved concentration and focus because your attention isn't constantly being pulled away. When you're present, you're also less likely to be driven by old, unhelpful habits.
Yeah.
It creates that crucial space to choose your response more wisely.
Right, breaking the automatic cycle.
Precisely. And it fosters a greater sense of connection to yourself, to other people, and to the world around you. You actually feel part of your life, not just rushing through it.
So how do we get better at anchoring ourselves in the now?
Yeah.
It sounds good, but it can be tricky.
It can be, but practice helps. One simple tool is the 3-breath pause, which the book calls your pocket-sized reset button.
Pocket-sized reset. I like it.
It's so simple, yet so effective. several times a day. Maybe set a reminder or just do it when you feel stressed or scattered. Consciously pause.
Okay.
Take 3 slightly deeper, slower, intentional breaths. Focus all your attention on the physical sensation of the breath coming into your body and the sensation of the breath leaving your body. Feel the rise and fall.
Just 3 breaths.
Just 3 breaths. That's it. It's a mini meditation that can make a significant difference. It's not just about calming you down, though it often does. Crucially, it gives your prefrontal cortex, your brain's wise decision maker, a critical window to come back online and potentially override your reactive limbic system, the more primitive part.
So it's actually changing the brain dynamics.
That's the idea. It's giving the thoughtful part a chance to catch up. That's the real superpower, taking back control from pure instinct or habit.
That's a great quick reset. And mindful listening, that's another practice mentioned. Crucial for connection, too, I imagine.
Absolutely. Mindful listening is more than just not talking. It emphasizes your inner presence and non-judgmental attention while someone else is speaking.
Okay.
So when someone is speaking, really try to give them your full, undivided attention. Listen not just to the words they're saying, but also try to pick up on their tone, their pace, facial expressions, body language.
The whole picture.
The whole picture. Try to sense the underlying emotions or needs that might be behind the words. And here's the hard part. Practice listening without formulating your response while they're still talking.
Yeah, that's tough. We're always planning what we'll say next.
We are, or letting our mind drift off. So the practice is just to be fully with the speaker. Let their words land. This dramatically improves communication quality. It builds rapport and trust like crazy, and it makes others feel truly heard and respected, which is rare.
It really is. Okay, the book also introduces something called the PREP framework. Pause, reflect, engage, proceed. This sounds like a really practical go-to strategy for conscious action in almost any situation.
It is. It's simple, but quite profound when you actually use it consistently. So P is for pause. This is your critical first step, consciously creating that momentary space between a stimulus, like someone saying something annoying, and your habitual response.
Okay, hit the pause button.
Hit the pause button, take a deep breath, or 3. This interrupts the automatic reactive cycle. It buys you time.
Right. R is for reflect.
Yes. In that clarifying space you've just created, briefly consider what's actually happening here, externally and internally. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? Crucially, what are the facts versus your interpretations or stories about the facts?
Disentangling fact from story.
Mm-hmm. And also, what core intention or value do you want to guide your response? This is where you consult your inner insight and integrity, which we'll talk more about later.
Okay. Then E is for engage.
Engage. Based on the clarity you gain during reflection, consciously choose your response, your words, your tone, your actions. You are making a deliberate choice, not just reacting blindly.
Taking ownership.
Taking ownership. And finally, P is for proceed. Put your chosen response into action, but with continued awareness. Observe the impact it has. Remain open to learning and adapting based on how things unfold.
So it's not just fire and forget.
Not at all. PREP is a dynamic, iterative process. You might cycle through it again if needed. It keeps you engaged and learning.
That seems incredibly useful. And the book also suggests weaving mindfulness into the fabric of daily life through really simple everyday practices. I love these, like the mindful morning sip.
Yes, isn't that great? That first cup of coffee or tea or even water in the morning before you just gulp it down while mentally running through your massive to-do list.
Which we all do.
Which we all do. Just take the first 3 sips mindfully. Pause. Really notice the aroma. Feel the warmth or the coolness of the mug in your hands. Pay full attention to the taste, the sensation as you swallow. It's such a gentle way to start your day with intentional presence rather than frantic rushing.
Just a few seconds, but makes a difference.
Totally. Another one the book highlights, which is brilliant, is the infamous checkout line Zen.
We all need that.
We really do. Instead of succumbing to impatience, frustration, maybe muttering under your breath while waiting, use this dead time for a kind of stealth meditation.
Okay, stealth meditation.
Bring awareness to your breath. Feel your feet grounding you on the floor. Maybe observe the other people around you with gentle curiosity without judgment. Scan your own body for tension shoulders creeping up to your ears and see if you can soften.
Oh.
The point is, you can't control the speed of the line, right? But you can choose how you experience your time in it. It's a powerful everyday exercise in equanimity, in finding peace amidst minor frustrations.
That's a great reframe.
And the book delves into many other fantastic practical ways to weave this awareness into life, like mindful munching, really tasting your food, or mindful transitions using the walk between rooms as a pause, or gratitude reflections. Lots of small things add up.
It seems cultivating these facets of awareness, self-awareness, situational awareness, and mindful presence is really an ongoing, lifelong practice. It's not about achieving some perfect, unattainable state of enlightenment tomorrow.
Absolutely not. It's about getting a little better, day by day, step by step, at noticing what's actually happening, both within you and around you, and doing that with clarity, with curiosity, and importantly, with kindness towards yourself.
Right. And as the book emphasizes, this heightened awareness is the essential bedrock. It's a foundation upon which you can then build more wisdom, more authenticity, more resilience, and more meaningful engagement in your life.
Which brings us very neatly to our next core component in the toolkit, wisdom, or as the book subtitles it, your guide to good choices.
Okay,
And this wisdom component, it builds directly and crucially on that foundation of awareness we just talked about. You really can't make a genuinely wise choice if you're not even aware of the full situation, right?
Makes sense.
If you're not aware of your own internal biases that might be clouding your judgment, or the potential options available to you, or even just the subtle emotional currents pulling you in one direction or another, awareness comes first.
So wisdom here isn't necessarily about being like an old sage with a long white beard.
Huh. No, not necessarily, though maybe eventually. It's less about having all the answers and more about asking better, deeper questions.
Okay.
In this context, wisdom involves making choices that your future self will thank you for, rather than looking back and regretting. It's about cultivating the capacity to make decisions with deep understanding, foresight, and a connection to your values.
And the benefit of that.
Well, it leads to fewer, if only I'd known, or why did I do that moments, hopefully.
You could all use fewer of those.
Definitely. It helps you engage in better, more sustainable problem solving because you're more likely to address the root causes of issues, not just the surface symptoms.
Right.
It generally brings increased confidence and peace of mind in your choices because they feel more considered, more aligned, and it gives you a greater ability to anticipate potential challenges down the road and also to seize emerging opportunities because you're better at reading the subtle signals that others might miss.
Okay, so what are the main facets of wisdom as presented in the toolkit?
There are three main facets discussed. First is insight-driven decision-making. That's about seeing the bigger picture and the deeper why behind things.
Okay.
Second is ethical judgment. That's about doing the right thing, especially when it's tricky or inconvenient. And third is systems thinking and multi-perspective consideration. This is really understanding how everything's interconnected, the ripple effects of actions.
Let's dig into ethical judgment a bit. That sounds crucial, but sometimes hard to navigate. How do we ensure we're doing the right thing, especially when situations are gray or complex?
They often are, aren't they? One really practical tool the book suggests to help calibrate your ethical compass is the front page test, but simplified for the digital age.
Okay, the front page test. How does that work?
Before making a choice that feels a bit iffy or maybe cuts a corner, ask yourself this simple question. Would I be comfortable if this action and my real reasons for doing it were detailed on the front page of a major newspaper or went viral on social media with my name clearly attached? If the very thought makes you break out in a cold sweat or feel that sinking feeling in your stomach, that's probably a pretty strong signal to pause, reflect again, and reconsider your course of action. It taps into our innate sense of public accountability, even if it's just hypothetical.
That's a very practical, visceral test for our inner compass. And what about the stakeholder scan? That sounds really useful for decisions that impact other people.
It is. It's a great way to broaden your perspective beyond just your own needs or desires. When a decision you're making affects others, and many decisions, do consciously take a moment to consider all the stakeholders.
Stakeholders being?
Anyone who is impacted, directly or indirectly. Your family, colleagues, customers, community, maybe even the environment.
Right.
Ask yourself, how might this decision affect them? What are their likely needs and perspectives in this situation? Am I considering their well-being fairly alongside my own interests?
So it forces you to think beyond yourself.
Exactly. It's a practical application of understanding our interconnectedness, which ties directly into that third facet of wisdom we mentioned, systems thinking.
Right, understanding the web of connections.
Yes. Systems thinking reminds us that life is rarely simple or linear. It's usually a complex dynamic web where actions in one area inevitably create ripple effects, sometimes unexpected ones, in other areas.
So trying to fix things in isolation doesn't always work.
Often it leads to short-lived solutions, or sometimes even creates new problems down the line because we didn't see the connections. Cultivating systems thinking helps make more robust, effective, and sustainable decisions because you're considering more variables, more potential consequences.
It helps you see the bigger picture.
The bigger picture, the hidden dynamics, the leverage points where a small change could have a big positive impact. It also fosters better collaboration because you appreciate different perspectives more. It connects to that Buddhist concept of inner being. Nothing exists in total isolation.
That makes sense. Now, the book also mentions reframing failure under wisdom. How does that work?
Yes, this is a powerful one. Wisdom offers a profound way to reframe what we typically call failure. Instead of seeing an unwanted outcome as just failure, which often triggers shame, blame, or giving up, wisdom encourages you to see it as valuable feedback.
Feedback.
Feedback, the outcome, even if disappointing, is simply providing information. It's telling you what didn't work in that specific context with those specific actions you took.
Okay.
Or another great reframe is FAIL, thinking of it as simply your first attempt in learning.
Ah, like that. FAIL, first attempt in learning.
That's much more constructive.
Isn't it? It immediately shifts the focus away from harsh judgment and regret and towards curiosity, learning, and continuous improvement. Okay, that approach didn't work. What can I learn from this? What could I try differently next time? It fuels growth.
That alone could transform how we approach pretty much any challenge, couldn't it?
Absolutely. It's a cornerstone of resilience, too, which we'll get to.
Okay, what's the next essential tool in our Cognizant Life Artists Toolkit for skillful living, after awareness and wisdom? Next up, we have authenticity. The book calls this the art of being authentically you.
Authenticity.
This is a real cornerstone for Cognizant Life. It emphasizes the unwavering alignment of your words and your actions. It's about truly walking your talk.
So consistency between your inner values, what you believe, and your outer behavior, how you actually act in the world.
Exactly. The book uses that lovely analogy of a sturdy, ancient oak tree.
Right.
It's deeply rooted, it's consistent, it's true to its intrinsic nature, and it stands tall even through storms because of those deep roots.
That's a great image.
This consistency, rooted in clear values and integrity, it builds this really solid, unshakable self-respect. And it also builds genuine trust with other people because they know where you stand. They sense that congruence.
And the opposite is true too, right?
Yeah.
Trying to maintain a facade is exhausting.
Incredibly draining. Constantly hiding your true thoughts and feelings. Or trying to maintain some carefully curated facade of perfection or competence. It takes a huge amount of energy. And it creates distance in relationships. People can often sense when something's not quite genuine.
Yeah.
Whereas healthy transparency, being appropriately open and honest, it fosters understanding. It reduces guesswork for others, less mind reading required.
Definitely a plus.
It builds trust and intimacy because vulnerability often invites vulnerability in return. And it reduces your own inner conflict and stress because your inner world and your outer world are more aligned. You're not fighting yourself.
Okay, so what are the 3 facets of authenticity outlined in the framework?
The first one is fundamental: self-acceptance and self-compassion.
Oh, starting with yourself.
Always. This involves embracing all of yourself, not just the shiny, socially acceptable parts, but also your wobbly bits, as the book calls them.
Wobbly bits, I like that.
Yeah. Your quirks, your vulnerabilities, your strengths, and your shadows. It's not about trying to eliminate imperfections or pretend they don't exist. It's about acknowledging your full humanity with kindness.
How do we practice that, especially when facing difficult emotions or perceived flaws?
A really powerful mindfulness-based practice described is using RAIN on your emotional parade. It's a secular, practical version.
RAIN.
Okay.
Okay, what does that stand for?
R is for recognize. Simply notice and acknowledge the difficult emotion that's present. Okay, this is impatience arising, or, hello, insecurity. Just name it gently.
Got it. A is for.
A is for allow or accept. This is key. Let the emotion be there without immediately trying to push it away, fix it, or judge yourself for having it. Just give it some space to exist. This isn't about liking the feeling, but about not adding extra resistance, which often makes it worse.
Stop fighting it. Okay.
Yeah.
I is for.
I is for investigate. With gentle, non-judgmental curiosity, like a kind scientist, explore the emotion. What does it actually feel like in your body? Where is it strongest? Are there thoughts accompanying it? What does this feeling seem to want or need? What might have triggered it?
Getting curious about it.
Getting curious. And finally, N is for nurture, or non-identification. This means offering yourself some understanding, kindness, or self-compassion in that moment. Maybe saying something internally like, this is a really tough moment and it's okay to feel this way, or reminding yourself that while you feel the emotion intensely right now, you are not defined by it. It's like a weather pattern passing through the sky of your awareness. You are the sky, not the storm cloud.
That's a beautiful distinction.
Just naming the emotion, the recognized step, often creates a bit of space immediately. It's like acknowledging a visitor at your door instead of pretending they're not there or trying to barricade the door.
RAIN. That sounds incredibly helpful for self-acceptance. What's the second facet of authenticity?
The second facet is healthy transparency.
Okay, being open with others.
Yes, but appropriately. This is about being straightforward, not deceptive. It's more than just avoiding outright lies. It's a consistent commitment to honesty. It means sharing your thoughts and feelings openly, even when it might be difficult or uncomfortable, in a way that's constructive. Being forthright about your needs and boundaries, admitting when you don't know something or when you've made a mistake, rather than trying to spin it.
So less spin, more straight talk.
Exactly. And as we said, this fosters understanding, reduces guesswork, builds trust, invites others to be vulnerable in return, and reduces that inner tension of pretending.
Okay. And the third facet of authenticity.
The third facet is having a growth mindset, which the book refers to as the power of yet.
We touched on this with wisdom, too.
Yeah.
How does it relate specifically to authenticity?
It's crucial for authenticity because being truly authentic means embracing your journey of learning and development. A growth mindset is the core belief that your abilities, your intelligence, your skills, they aren't fixed traits you're just stuck with.
Right. They can be developed.
They can be developed through dedication, effort, learning, and resilience. It's like a superpower for personal development, as the book calls it.
How does that help us be more authentic?
Well, if you have a fixed mindset, I'm just bad at this, I'm not a creative person, you might hide your struggles or avoid challenges to protect your self-image. You're not being authentic about where you truly are.
Ah, okay.
But with a growth mindset, you're more willing to be vulnerable, to admit you don't know something yet, to embrace challenges as opportunities to learn, and to see effort as the path to mastery. This allows you to show up more honestly as a work in progress.
Which we all are.
Which we all are. It encourages perseverance through difficulties because you see them as hurdles to overcome, not signs of your inherent inadequacy. You become more open to constructive feedback, more enthusiastic about learning new skills, and less threatened by other success. You learn from it instead.
And the practical tip here is adding yet.
Yes. It's so simple but powerful. When you catch yourself thinking or saying fixed mindset thoughts like, I can't do this, or I don't understand this, consciously add the word yet to the end. I can't do this yet. I don't understand this yet.
It changes everything.
It completely transforms a dead-end statement into an open door for future learning and possibility. It reframes the entire situation in your mind.
Again, reframing failure as feedback or first attempt in learning is key here too.
Absolutely. That FAIL acronym fits perfectly with both wisdom and authenticity. Seeing setbacks as learning opportunities rather than judgments on your worth is fundamental to maintaining a growth mindset and being authentic about your journey.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Let's move on to the fourth tool in the toolkit, resilience bouncing back when life throws a curveball. We hear that word resilience a lot these days.
We do, and it's critical. Cognizant Life really emphasizes that life is inherently filled with challenges, setbacks, disappointments, uncertainty. That's not pessimism. It's just realism. It's part of the deal of being human.
Right. Stuff happens.
Stuff happens. So resilience isn't just about gritting your teeth and toughing it out, which honestly often just leads to burnout or suppressing emotions that then pop up later. True resilience in this context is about actively learning, adapting, and maybe even growing stronger and wiser from the difficult experience itself. It's about bouncing forward, not just back.
Bouncing forward. I like that. How does understanding our mind help with this?
Well, our minds have these default patterns, right? Like catastrophizing, jumping to the absolute worst-case scenario.
Oh, yeah. My mind loves that one.
Mine too. Or excessive self-criticism, that harsh inner voice that tears you down when things go wrong.
Yep, know that one too.
If these patterns are left unchecked, running on autopilot, they dramatically amplify stress. They prolong suffering unnecessarily. And they can prevent you from seeing alternative solutions or paths forward because you're just stuck in the negative loop.
So resilience involves becoming aware of those patterns.
Yeah. Exactly. Becoming aware of them, recognizing them as patterns, as mental habits, not as objective truths about reality or yourself. Seeing them for what they are, just thoughts, just feelings, just sensations.
Okay.
By understanding these subtle but powerful patterns in your own mind, by seeing them clearly through awareness, you can begin to disarm them. You cultivate genuine resilience. This enables you to navigate adversity not just by toughing it out through sheer willpower, but by learning, adapting, and actually growing from the experience.
So it transforms the setback?
It can transform setbacks, even really painful ones, into opportunities for insight and development. It makes you much more flexible and robust for whatever future challenges come your way. It fundamentally shifts your internal relationship with difficulty. You still don't like it, but it doesn't flatten you in the same way.
And resilience is supported by the other toolkit components too, isn't it? It's not standalone.
Absolutely not. They all weave together. Self-awareness helps you recognize your emotional state and your typical coping patterns when adversity hits. What's your go-to reaction? Wisdom allows for making adaptive choices in the face of difficulty, reframing challenges as learning opportunities, that growth mindset again, and practicing acceptance of what genuinely cannot be changed, which reduces suffering. Authenticity helps because living true to your core values provides a vital anchor and a sense of purpose during difficult times. It fuels your determination to keep going.
Right, knowing what you stand for.
Exactly. And having a strong support network, which is a critical component of engagement, the next tool is also hugely important for resilience. We're not meant to go through hard times alone.
Let's make this concrete. Can you walk us through that real-world example from the book about David's marathon injury?
Yes, it's a great illustration. So David has trained for months for this marathon, poured heart and soul into it, but then just 2 weeks before the race, bam, an unexpected minor injury. Doctor says you can't run. He's devastated.
Understandably.
Totally. Now, a typical less aware approach might involve just spiraling into negativity. This is a disaster, all that work for nothing, I'm such a failure. Maybe blaming himself, giving up on running altogether out of despair. Or maybe the opposite, ignoring the medical advice out of stubbornness or frustration, running anyway, and risking a much worse long-term injury.
Right. All very common reactions.
Very common. But David, practicing as a Cognizant Life artist, handles it differently.
Okay. How does he start?
First, David pauses and acknowledges his intense emotions. He doesn't try to suppress the keen disappointment, the frustration, the anger, the sadness. He allows himself to feel them. He doesn't immediately jump to fake positive thinking like, oh, well, it's fine.
Right. Honoring the feeling.
Honoring the feelings. He might use a practice like RAN, recognize, allow, investigate, nurture, to be with these difficult emotions without letting them completely consume him or dictate his actions. This demonstrates self-awareness and emotional agility.
That's a key first step, just acknowledging the reality of the feelings. Then what?
Then, he reflects with insight and a growth mindset. He acknowledges the reality of the situation. He cannot run the specific marathon. Fighting this undeniable fact will only cause more suffering. That's wisdom in action, practicing acceptance of what cannot be changed right now.
Okay, acceptance, not resignation.
Exactly. Then he consciously shifts his perspective. Instead of framing this solely as a catastrophic failure, he asks himself, okay, what can I learn from this experience? Was my training plan maybe too aggressive? Do I need to learn more about injury prevention? What strengths did I develop during these months of training discipline, perseverance, improved fitness that I can still value and carry forward even without running this race?
Finding the learning and the value.
Finding the learning, finding the value. This shows resilience through applying a growth mindset and also authenticity by connecting back to his core values related to running, maybe health, discipline, the joy of movement, which go beyond just this one single race.
So learning and reframing instead of blaming or dwelling, that's powerful. What's next?
Exactly. David then engages with this new perspective by actively reframing the situation and considering constructive next steps. He might decide to channel his energy into proper recovery, perhaps learning about physical therapy or exploring cross-training options he can do safely. He might choose to still go to the marathon city if that was planned and pivot to supporting other runners, finding joy in the community aspect instead of just focusing on his own loss. He might even set a new, more realistic long-term goal, perhaps a different race in the future, incorporating the lessons learned from this setback into his preparation.
Taking proactive steps based on the reflection.
Yes. And then he proceeds. He takes constructive action aligned with his new plan. He focuses on his rehabilitation. He makes a conscious effort to celebrate the fitness he did build rather than just mourning the race he missed. He perhaps finds alternative ways to engage with his love for running or physical activity while he recovers. And importantly, he practices self-compassion throughout, acknowledging that injuries happen, setbacks occur, and that this doesn't negate his effort or his identity as someone who values fitness.
So what's the outcome of this more skillful approach?
The outcome is that David navigates this significant disappointment with significantly less self-inflicted suffering. He still feels the loss, but he doesn't get stuck there. By applying insight, acceptance, and a growth mindset, he manages to turn the setback into a valuable learning opportunity. And this leads to a wiser, perhaps more balanced and sustainable approach to his fitness and his goals in the long term.
That's a really powerful illustration of resilience in action. Okay, now, let's turn our attention outward for the fifth and final core component of our toolkit: engagement, connecting meaningfully with other humans. This feels like the grand finale, doesn't it? Bringing it all out into the world.
It really is. It turns our attention outward to the fascinating, frustrating, fulfilling, and frequently bewildering world of other people.
Huh. Yes, all of those things.
Right. And as much as we might sometimes fantasize about a quiet, hermit-like existence on a mountaintop.
Especially after a difficult meeting.
Exactly. The truth is, humans are fundamentally wired for connection. Our well-being, our sense of belonging, our resilience, even our physical health are profoundly linked to the quality of our relationships. We need each other.
So engagement here isn't just about being social or networking or collecting superficial online friends.
No, definitely not. In the Cognizant Life framework, engagement is the cultivated skill of building and nurturing mutually supportive, trusting, and meaningful relationships.
Oh.
And this happens through things like empathetic communication, genuine presence, bringing that awareness into interactions, and a willingness to contribute positively to others' lives.
That applies everywhere.
It applies across the board to your intimate partnerships, family ties, friendships, professional collaborations, even those fleeting encounters you have with strangers. At its heart, it's about recognizing and honoring our shared humanity in all interactions.
Okay, what are the vital facets of skillful engagement?
There are three highlighted. First, building trust, which the book calls the invisible superglue of all good relationships.
Invisible superglue, I like that.
Second, compassionate communication, which is about speaking and listening from the heart, even and especially when it's difficult. And third, fostering meaningful relationships and supporting others, actively nurturing connection and recognizing that we really are all in this together.
Okay, let's start with building trust. That sounds absolutely fundamental. How do we actually do that? It feels like it can be easily broken and hard to build.
It can be. Trust is indeed fundamental. It's the bedrock. And it's earned slowly, consistently, through countless instances of trustworthy behavior. It's not usually built in one grand gesture.
Right, small things add up.
Small things add up enormously. One incredibly simple yet profoundly important practice emphasized is the do what you say you will do principle, or DWYSYWD for short.
Do what you say you will do.
Okay. This sounds almost trivially simple, doesn't it? But it's astonishing how often this fundamental building block gets overlooked or compromised in daily life. If you say you'll call someone back at 3 p.m., call them back at 3 p.m., or communicate proactively if you realize you can't. If you promise to finish that task for your colleague by Friday, finish it by Friday, or renegotiate the deadline transparently if unforeseen things arise.
Being reliable.
Being reliable. Every single time you follow through on a commitment, no matter how small it seems, you add a little deposit to the trust bank in that relationship. Every time you break a promise or drop the ball without communication, you make a withdrawal. This consistent reliability forms the bedrock upon which deeper trust can be built.
That makes perfect sense. It's about consistency. Okay, next facet. Compassionate communication. What does that involve? Sounds crucial, but potentially challenging.
It is. This is really the heart of genuine connection, and it goes way beyond just exchanging information or words. It starts with that practice we touched on under awareness. Active, empathetic listening.
Right, really listening.
Really listening. Not just passively hearing while you plan your rebuttal, but making a conscious, engaged effort to fully understand the speaker's message. That means listening for the explicit words, yes, but also the implicit meanings, the underlying emotions, the unstated needs or values that might be driving what they're saying.
Trying to understand where they're coming from.
Exactly. Practice listening without interrupting, without formulating your response while they're talking, without letting your mind drift off to your own worries. Just try to be fully present with the speaker. Let their reality land for you. This dramatically improves communication quality, it builds rapport and trust incredibly effectively, and it makes others feel truly heard and validated, which is a profound gift.
It really is. And the book also emphasizes using I statements, doesn't it, as a way to communicate more compassionately.
Yes, hugely important, especially when dealing with difficult topics or conflict. Instead of starting sentences with accusatory you statements like, you always leave your dirty socks on the floor, or you made me feel bad.
Which immediately put people on the defensive.
Instantly, walls go up. Instead, frame statements from your own experience using I. So when I see dirty socks on the floor, I feel stressed because I value a tidy shared space. Would you be willing to try and put them in the hamper? Or when you said X, I felt hurt because I interpreted it as Y.
Owning your own feeling and interpretation.
Yes. It owns your feelings and your perspective without attacking or blaming the other person for causing them. It keeps the conversation focused on the issue and your experience rather than turning into a character assassination. It invites collaboration rather than defensiveness.
That's a key shift.
Yeah.
What else contributes to compassionate communication?
The book also provides other valuable tips, like be specific and concrete and stick to facts where possible. Vague complaints, you're so inconsiderate, are really hard to address. Specific examples, when our dinner was planned for 7 on other and you arrived at 7:40 without letting me know, I felt frustrated because the food got cold and I was worried, are much easier to discuss constructively.
Makes sense.
Mind your nonverbals, ensure your tone of voice and body language actually match the compassionate message you're trying to send. Choose the right time and place for serious or emotionally charged conversations, not when you're both exhausted, rushed, or distracted.
Setting the stage for success.
Exactly. And crucially, for navigating disagreements, which are inevitable in any real relationship.
Right. Conflict isn't necessarily bad.
No, conflict is normal. The goal isn't to avoid it entirely, but to navigate it respectfully in a way that actually strengthens connection rather than damaging it. Key principles here are: focus on the issue, not on attacking the person's character. Avoid name-calling, dredging up unrelated past grievances. Keep it specific.
Stay on topic.
Stay on topic. And borrow Stephen Covey's principle. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Really try to grasp the other person's perspective before you push yours. This is vital for building bridges in conflict.
Less blame, more understanding.
Precisely. Try to replace the blame game with a more systemic understanding and shared accountability. When something goes wrong, resist that powerful urge to just find someone to blame. Instead, focus on understanding what happened, why it happened, miscommunication, unmet needs, external stressors, and what can be learned collectively to improve things going forward. Ask, what can we learn from this misunderstanding?
Shifting from you versus me to us versus the problem.
Beautifully put. That's exactly the shift. And finally, know when to take a break. Recognize when a discussion is getting too heated, circular, or unproductive. Suggesting a pause, maybe we should take 10 minutes to cool off and revisit this with fresh eyes, is a powerful form of emotional regulation for the relationship. It prevents harmful escalation where things get said that can't be unsaid.
Taking a break is a skill, too. Definitely. What about digital communication? That adds a whole layer of complexity.
The wild west of misunderstandings? Yes. Key advice. Pause before you post or send, especially if you're feeling emotional. Read your message aloud before sending. How does it actually sound? Could the tone be easily misinterpreted without vocal cues?
Good tip.
Use emojis, GIFs, punctuation wisely to help convey tone, but don't rely on them for serious, complex, or sensitive topics because interpretations vary wildly. And the golden rule: if it's important, sensitive, complex, or potentially contentious, strongly consider picking up the phone or talking in person, or at least on a video call. Some conversations just need the nuance and real-time feedback of voice-to-voice interaction. Don't try to resolve major conflicts via text message.
Wise advice. Okay, and the third facet of engagement: meaningful relationships and supporting others.
Yes. This is about actively nurturing connections, recognizing that profound truth that we are part of a vast human ecosystem. We're not isolated islands. It involves finding genuine joy and meaning in contributing to the well-being of others, not out of obligation, but from a place of connection.
So how do we do that in practice?
It involves things like offering support when others are struggling, celebrating their successes with genuine happiness, not envy. The book calls this sympathetic joy, or mudita, a beautiful concept. Practicing generosity of spirit. and simply striving to be a kind, reliable, positive presence in the lives of people you care about.
And the book suggests specific ways to offer support.
Yes, moving beyond the vague, let me know if you need anything, which actually puts the burden on the person who's already struggling to figure out what to ask for and then ask for it.
Right. It sounds helpful, but often isn't.
Often isn't. Instead, offers specific, concrete helping hand. Things like, I'm heading to the grocery store this afternoon. Can I pick anything up for you while I'm there? Or how about I drop off a meal for your family tomorrow night? No need to even chat. I can just leave it on the porch. Or could I take the kids for a couple of hours on Saturday so you can have a break? These specific offers are much more likely to be accepted and show tangible care.
That's a really thoughtful and practical distinction. And what about the power of simple appreciation? You mentioned that earlier.
It's immense. Don't underestimate the power of simple appreciation. Actively notice the good in others, their efforts, their qualities, their kindnesses, and acknowledge it. A sincere thank you, a specific word of encouragement, I really admired how you handled that difficult situation, or a genuine compliment, that was a really insightful point you made. These small expressions can literally brighten someone's day and significantly strengthen your bond. They cost nothing but mean so much.
So true.
The book also encourages actively defining and reinforcing shared positive goals or values within relationships, like family values, partnership goals, team mission. This creates that powerful "we're in this together" mindset, and being proactive about breaking down personal barriers or social silos, consciously being a bridge builder in your social networks, connecting people.
Building community.
Building community.
Yeah.
And also empowering loved ones with appropriate autonomy and trust, giving people space to be themselves, make their own choices, learn from their own mistakes, offering support and guidance rather than trying to control or micromanage, trusting in their capacity for growth.
That requires letting go of control.
It does, which isn't always easy, but it's crucial for healthy, mature relationships.
Let's look at that final real-world example.
Yeah.
Sarah and her struggling friend, Liam. How does Sarah apply skillful engagement?
Right. So Sarah's close friend Liam is going through a really prolonged, difficult period, job instability, relationship issues, and he frequently calls Sarah to vent, often late at night, often repeating the same frustrations over and over. Sarah cares deeply about Liam, but she's finding herself increasingly drained, maybe resentful, and feeling her own well-being suffering. And she feels guilty about wanting to limit the calls.
A very relatable dilemma for many people.
Very relatable. Now, a typical less aware approach might be either just continuing to take all the calls, sacrificing her own needs, leading to burnout and simmering resentment that eventually poisons the friendship anyway, or abruptly cutting Liam off out of frustration, causing him hurt and confusion. Or maybe offering endless streams of unsolicited advice that Liam doesn't actually follow, leading to frustration for both of them.
Right. None of those feel ideal. So how does Sarah, as a Cognizant Life artist, approach this differently?
She starts, as always, with pause and internal reflection. She notices her own exhaustion, her resentment creeping in, the guilt she feels, that self-awareness. She acknowledges her genuine intention to be a good friend, that's her integrity, but she recognizes that her current approach is simply unsustainable for her. That's insight. Her intention then shifts from just being there no matter what to being there for Liam in a way that is both supportive for him and sustainable for me.
Finding a balance that works for both.
Finding a balance. Then she engages with Liam, but with empathy, authenticity, and clear, compassionate communication. She chooses a calm moment to speak with him, not during one of his late-night crisis calls.
And timing.
Crucial timing. She uses those I statements to share her feelings and needs respectfully, while also affirming her care for him. She might say something like, Liam, I care about you immensely, and I really want to support you through this tough time. I've noticed that our recent calls have been very focused on the challenges you're facing, which is understandable, and while I truly want to listen, I'm also finding myself feeling quite depleted afterwards, which honestly makes it harder for me to be the supportive and present friend I want to be for you in the long run.
Wow. That's honest but kind. Takes courage.
Takes courage. That's authenticity combined with skillful communication. She's not blaming him. She's describing her own experience and limitations.
Does she propose solutions?
Yes. She proposes constructive solutions. Based on her reflection, she suggests ways she can support him sustainably. Perhaps we could try scheduling slightly shorter, more focused chats sometimes. Or maybe we could also make sure we spend some time talking about other things too, or even doing something enjoyable together, like grabbing coffee or going for a walk to balance things out a bit. This shows wisdom finding practical, adaptive solutions.
Offering alternatives.
Offering alternative, and then, importantly, she listens to his response, using her awareness to gauge his reaction. She manages her own discomfort during this potentially awkward conversation, gently but firmly holding the boundary she needs to maintain her own well-being, which demonstrates resilience.
So what's the likely outcome?
Well, Liam might be initially surprised, maybe even a bit hurt or defensive. That's possible. But if Sarah communicates with genuine care and clarity, he's more likely to ultimately appreciate her honesty and her commitment to finding a sustainable way to maintain their friendship. The friendship actually has a chance to become healthier, more balanced, and more sustainable for both of them in the long run, rather than crashing and burning from resentment or avoidance.
That's a really powerful illustration of how all those pieces, awareness, integrity, skillful communication, setting boundaries, resilience, they all weave together in a complex but common real-life situation.
It truly is. They're not separate boxes, and this brings us perfectly to the final key point the book makes, the interplay of your inner toolkit.
Right. How they all work together.
Exactly. These 5 core components we've discussed, awareness, wisdom, authenticity, resilience, and engagement, they are not isolated skills operating independently. They form this profoundly interconnected, dynamic, and synergistic inner toolkit. Think of it like a complex, dynamic, living ecosystem within you.
So they're constantly influencing and enhancing one another, like a feedback loop.
Precisely. Awareness, as we've said repeatedly, is the bedrock. You simply cannot make truly wise choices, or act with genuine authenticity, or build deep resilience, or engage meaningfully with others without first cultivating that fundamental clarity about your inner and outer worlds. Awareness lights the way for everything else.
Okay. And how do the others weave together?
Well, think about authenticity. It thrives on self-awareness. You have to know your genuine self, your values, your feelings to express them honestly. And it's fueled by integrity, the wisdom and commitment to act in alignment with those values. This inner knowing and congruence then strengthens your genuine engagement with others because people sense that trustworthiness, which builds deeper connection.
Makes sense. And resilience.
Resilience, when you're facing life's inevitable curveballs, is massively supported by self-awareness, helping you recognize your emotional state and your go-to coping patterns. It's supported by wisdom, allowing you to make adaptive choices, reframe challenges as learning opportunities, and practice acceptance where needed. Authenticity helps by keeping you anchored to your core values, giving you purpose during difficult times. And engagement provides that vital support network you can lean on. See how they interlock.
Yeah, it's really clear when you lay it out like that. And engagement, in turn, is enriched by all the other components.
Absolutely. Meaningful connection with others requires present moment awareness. You have to actually be there, truly listening and being present with the other person. It requires the wisdom to communicate compassionately, especially during disagreements, and to navigate differences constructively. It thrives on authenticity, as genuine, trusting relationships can only be built on a foundation of truthfulness. And it often demands resilience from us because relationships inevitably have their own set of challenges, misunderstandings, and hurts that require emotional agility and adaptability to navigate successfully without causing lasting damage.
So cultivating the whole toolkit is really the key.
That's the holistic impact. By consciously understanding and cultivating this entire toolkit, not just picking one favorite, you gain the capacity to navigate the complexities of life with significantly greater clarity, integrity, connection, and capacity for growth. And the result: less self-inflicted suffering, more skillful responses, and enhanced overall well-being.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into your core inner toolkit for skillful living. We've explored awareness as that foundational superpower, wisdom as your guide to good choices, authenticity as the art of being authentically you, resilience for bouncing forward from challenges, and engagement for connecting meaningfully with other humans.
And it's so important to remember, as you engage with these ideas, this is not a destination you arrive at like, okay, done, I'm fully aware, wise, and resilient now.
If only.
If only. It's an ongoing, lifelong practice. It's a continuous, unfolding voyage of discovery and refinement. You're always learning, always deepening these capacities.
Which leads nicely to that idea of embracing imperfection, right?
Yeah.
The book mentions the Japanese aesthetic concept of wabi-sabi.
Yes, I love that inclusion. Wabi-sabi finds beauty in imperfection, in impermanence, in incompleteness. Think of a cracked teacup that's been lovingly repaired, and its history makes it more valuable, more beautiful, not less.
So applying that to ourselves.
It's a wonderfully humane way to approach your own cognizant life art practice. Some days you'll feel like you nailed it, you responded with awareness and wisdom. Other days you'll feel like a bewildered toddler reacting all over the place. And guess what? Both are okay. Both are part of the human
Right.
experience.
It's not about eliminating the rough edges.
No, the goal isn't perfection. It's about learning to work with your full humanity, your quirks, your vulnerabilities, your strengths, your shadows, with ever-increasing awareness, skill, kindness, and that crucial ingredient, self-compassion, being kind to yourself through the
And
process.
maybe having a sense of humor about it all.
Oh, please, don't forget that humor is a superpower too. Life is often deeply absurd, isn't it? And learning to laugh gently at its quirks, and especially at our own inevitable stumbles and foibles, is absolutely vital for buoyancy, for perspective, and for genuine self-acceptance on this sometimes challenging path.
So every mistake isn't a failure.
It's merely another brushstroke in the unique, complex, messy, beautiful masterpiece of your life that you're constantly creating. It's just more data, a rich source of learning, if you choose to see it that way.
That's a wonderful way to look at it. This transformative journey, as Cognizant Life powerfully reminds us, truly begins and joyfully continues right now.
Always now. Each moment, each breath you take, each next choice you make is a fresh opportunity to practice, to bring a little more awareness, a little more wisdom, a little more authenticity, resilience, and connection into your life. It starts now.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that illuminating exploration. Join us next time for another insightful deep dive designed to help you become truly well-informed.